Stay tuned because in today's episode, we're going to be talking all things small business, talking about the calendar of things to do throughout the year. And hopefully, this will be something quick and enjoyable for you. See you inside. Hello, welcome to another episode with more ABC Financials. My name is Robin Moore. I am the owner, the originator of More ABC Financials, where we help you with your accounting services, your budgeting solutions, and any customized databases you may need. The subject of today's discussion is all things small businesses. I think oftentimes when you think of being a small business owner, all the conversations I think surrounding what you need to do is always the annual things, the tax returns, the receipts, those types of things. But what about the things that you need to do daily? What about the things that you need to do on a monthly basis as a small business? Those things may be different than some of the larger organizations that have a large staff of accountants like myself working on your books. So I wanted to quickly take you through the things that are highlighting things that you need to do in your business, in your calendar. I was actually talking to my brother, who is the owner of his own engineering firm. I will leave that information down below and also flash it here. Hi, Terry. And so we thought, it would be a great idea for small business owners to understand some of the things that you maybe have not thought about doing for your business. Some of these things, More ABC Financials can help you with. Some of these things you're going to want to be intimately involved in. Certainly, if you would like some help with some of the things that you see on this list or hear in this list, feel free to reach out and we'll have the conversation about what we can do to help you be more successful. One of the things that I think is important to understand as a business owner is the things that you don't do on a weekly, monthly basis will be a nightmare at the end of the year. You don't want to wait to look for receipts when it's time for a tax audit. You don't want to get to the end of the month and have to reconcile an entire month's worth of cash transactions. It becomes a very painful process for you. So, as a business owner, you know what your needs are, you know what your volume of transactions are. Maybe you don't have to do these things as often as I've prescribed in my list. But I this is the list that I've compiled of things that you want to pay attention to. Certainly is not a fully comprehensive list, but it is a list of things that I think are important that you don't forget. So we'll walk through the timeline of things that you do daily. We actually are going to talk about a daily list, a weekly list, a monthly list, a quarterly list, and an annual list. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments or send me an email or find me somewhere on social media streets. All right, let's get started on the daily tasks. So depending on whether you sell actual tangible items, something that you have to put in the mail or actually hand over to a customer, or you are a small business that offers services, you're going to want to make sure on a daily basis or whenever these things happen that you're entering your sales in a spreadsheet, in a ledger, in a program, whatever you're using. You're going to make sure you document that, especially if you're extending credit to your customers. You're going to want to make sure you're documenting those things on a daily basis. I would not save those transactions for a weekly timeline for entering your sales transactions. I think is too long. And again, especially if you're extending credit, you're going to want to enter it on the day that the transaction happened, just for posterity's sake of being able to go back and understand what happened, when it happened, when the customer owes you the remaining funds, if they paid a deposit, all that jazz. And your expenses. So expenses are are can get away from you. It's so easy to swipe the credit card. It's so easy to go ahead and make the purchase online. Sometimes that those transactions get away from us, and we oftentimes forget until it's time to reconcile the bank statement that we actually did have an expense. So I would make documenting those expenses a part of your daily transaction. When you're swiping, go ahead and use your program, use your spreadsheet of whatever you're using for your expenses. And if you are a retail business, meaning you're actually interfacing with your customers on a regular basis and you've got a cash register or something where you're handling cash, reconcile your cash on a daily basis is going to be important. As a part of closing your day out and as a part of starting your day, making sure that all of your registers, all of your cash, your safe, money that's in your safe is all documented well. So that's the daily list. The weekly list, these are things, depending on how you run your payroll, you're going to run your payroll on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. You're going to pay your bills. One thing, one note, one hint for my small business friends, do not pay your bills on a daily basis. It's redundant. It takes a lot of time away from you in your zone of genius, which is running your business. You have a greater risk of forgetting a transaction than when you batch them together and do them on a weekly basis. So I would have, every Thursday you're going to cut your checks to your vendors, or you're going to sit down and get those things done for the business in at one time, and that way you're documenting and making sure the bills are paid on time. And the financial projections for the rest of the month, depending on your business, this may or may not be as important to you. Certainly as your business scales and grows, as you have partners or other stakeholders that are interested in the business, it'll be important for you to look and see how the business is doing for the month, what your projections are. Are there any bills that you've documented but you've not yet paid? Are there any receivables that you have not yet collected on that may need your attention as the business owner if your receivables team, if that happens to be you, is unable to collect that cash? So those are the things that I think on a weekly basis that you can sit down and get those things done. Monthly, now this is the thing that gets a lot of attention from me because I'm an accountant, and every month I have to close the books. I have, depending on the organization, between 2 to 4 days to close out all the transactions, to make sure all of the accounts are reconciled. And so on a monthly basis, that as a small business, you don't want to deviate from that schedule. Again, you don't want to wait 2-3 months and have to do months worth of work of trying to reconcile your business. It becomes then a chore. It's not fun. And you rush through it. And you want to be very careful about making sure that your books are as close to the reality of what happened in your business as possible. When you wait, you can miss things. You have an increased chance of mistakes, and you don't need those in your business. So you're going to do things like review your financials, right? You're going to close your books. You're going to reconcile your cash. You're going to, this piece I think doesn't get enough attention, and it is documenting your internal controls. If it's not documented, then it didn't happen. I stole that from some of my auditor friends in my career. If you have standard operating procedures, if you have things in place where folks are to be signing off on reconciliations, on cash transactions, on deposits, you're going to want to make sure those things are happening, but you want to also make sure that you're documenting that those things happened. Put it away, make it a part of your month-end process, and then when anyone ever asks you about it, whether it be your internal stakeholders, whether it be you as the business owner interested in what's going on, or it be it's time to scale the business, you want to go and get this great loan from the bank and you're going to need this $500,000. those internal control procedures are going to be important to show that you not only know how to run the business, but you also know how to make sure that your business is compliant to internal controls. And that'll be important for you. One thing too for monthly, and this is just a personal preference because I am nitpicky and very detail oriented. Go ahead and scan and file your receipts on a monthly basis. Those expenses that you have had for the month, those receipts that you have, go ahead and scan them in. However your filing system is going to be, get them in an electronic form. Do not wait and keep your paper and that be the only way for you to prove your expenses. File them away, have again in your internal control documents, however long you're going to keep your paper receipts, but you're going to want to scan them in electronically and have them available to you. So that is the monthly schedule. On the quarter, what's going to be important, what differentiates a quarter from a regular month is that's typically when you have the governmental reports that are due. You have payroll reports that are due. You have sales and use tax reports, depending on how your business is run. And you have income tax, maybe estimates or returns that you have to file, depending on what state and locality you're in. And you're going to want to pay attention to that. Don't let the quarters slip up on you. And those will be important because as we transition to the annual list, you'll find is those when it's time to file your tax returns, it's so much easier when you've already made an estimate throughout the year. It's so much easier when you've kind of kept up with your government reports. When it's time to do the annual reports, you're basically repeating what you've done on a quarterly basis. For the annual list, one of the things that is a little bit different as well is it'll be time to, if you've got employees, it's time to issue those W-2s. It's time for your vendors to issue those 1099s. And so those will be important to not only get them done, but get them done in a timely fashion. You have definitely deadlines for each of those things. And one other thing, the last thing for the annual list is inventory. So if you've got tangible things, at least once a year, you're going to want to do a full inventory count. You're going to want to make sure and document that you have gone through to make sure that the inventory that's showing as an asset on your books is actually accurate to the best of your knowledge. And you've done at least a full, I'm going to put in air quotes, wall to wall. And the reason why we say it's wall to wall, because typically in a warehouse, you're going to count all the inventory from one end of the building all the way to the other. So it is a wall to wall, full inventory count of all items, not the, you're not going to count your tape, your screws, but you are going to count those things that are inventory. So that's the list of things, and I'll include potentially a Google Doc or something of the list. I'll figure that out. And I wanted you to know that for small businesses, it is easy to get wrapped up in running your business, scaling your business, making your customers happy. All of those things are very important, but I don't want you to get behind on the things that will be very difficult to do, including things regarding your inventory or your receipts or your receivables. You don't want to wait 6 months and realize you haven't been paid for a customer. You know, it's difficult to have those conversations when it's been that long. So that's the list for small businesses for the annual calendar. I hope you found this list, a quick, short list, at least handy, helpful. If you need some assistance with these things, this list, coming up with a plan, executing the plan, someone to audit your plan, your compliance, with your calendar, feel free again to reach out to More ABC Financials. We'll be happy to help you with these things and help make the execution of your vision as smooth as it can be. Until next time, make sure you do good in the world, but also make sure that you're good to yourself. Talk to you soon.